The big, beautiful bill, the MAGA murder bill, as I'm calling it, has passed the Senate. J.D. Vance, NATO, was the tie-breaking vote. 51 to 50. 3 Republicans voted against it. That's Susan Collins of Maine, Rand Paul, and Tom Tillis, which was sort of unexpected. But Tom Tillis no longer running for re-election. And so he's about to skedaddle, get the money, and go. Lisa Murkowski of Alaska basically voted yes after a bunch of carve-outs were made for her own home state, including basically a relief for SNAP rollbacks. We'll get into that in terms of food stamps. This bill is heinous. Let Bernie Sanders explain it to you.
And when billionaires spend hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars trying to elect a president or a senator or a member of Congress, they're not making that investment just for the fun of it. They want something in return, and this legislation, big time, is what they are getting in return.
Yes, so basically this is a billionaire's budget because it makes Trump's 2017 tax breaks permanent. It's going to add $3.3 trillion to the deficit, which I love. There's something to be said, NATO, about at the end of the day, whether it's 2 wars in the Middle East or it's massive tax breaks for the wealthy, it will be Republicans who spend trillions of dollars. The $3 trillion is always the war on terror to me. I hear that number and I'm like, oh, that's how much we spent, bringing democracy to Afghanistan. And now here we have it again. Obviously, $1 trillion is being cut from Medicaid. This is the big thing. 12 million low-income people are going to be kicked off of their healthcare, likely. $300 billion in cuts to food stamps, except for, I think it's the top 10, basically states. This is Murkowski's carve out, the states who aren't able to make up the funds or who have the most discrepancy. The feds will basically, the government will help them out, which is effectively an incentive for them to not report or have a bunch of, not be able to feed their people. So it's all silly. Reminder also that let's look at, this is Senator Warren who put out this, in terms of Medicaid, how many people in your state will lose their health care? So she's going down the list. I mean, it's anywhere, basically 250,000 almost in Colorado. California is going to be 2.3 million people. Red states and blue states alike. These are 17 million people who will lose their health care. Also, what the bill doesn't do is extend any of the ACA, the Obamacare premium support, so subsidies. So for example, me, I buy my insurance on the marketplace. It's still, what is it? Almost $900 for 2 people. And that is with subsidies. So without subsidies from the Inflation Reduction Act, it'll go up to something like $1,400 a month, which is fucking insane. And that is
Get on Patreon, everybody.
Yeah, that is millions of other people who are in that same situation. But again, 40% of children in small and rural towns get their health insurance from Medicaid. Vets often get their health care through that as well. Here is Mark Kelly of Arizona, I believe, speaking to that.
Frank is a veteran on dialysis. He called this week, and he said, "The food bank and my SNAP benefits are the only way I eat right now. I can't work. I'm not old enough to retire. And I'm dipping into my retirement early just to keep up with my mortgage. Without this help, I don't know what I will do." Mr. President, veterans should never have to say those words in this country. One of the most sacred promises we make to the men and women who serve is that we will take care of them when they return home. That promise doesn't end when they hang up the uniform. It includes making sure that they can afford food, access health care, and live with some dignity. And yet, here's Frank, sick, struggling, and wondering how he'll survive because the programs he relies on are under threat.
Okay, and so specifically, and sorry I misspoke, it's SNAP benefits that a lot of veterans are relying on. And so here it is. It passed. The one, there's a bunch of other shit that was in it. Remember, NATO, this is all through reconciliation. So this is like the parliamentarian has to say whether this has to do with the budget or not. This is the same mechanism by which in 2021, Democrats tried to get a $15 minimum wage nationally that got tanked. Good old Kirsten Sinema in her little manic pixie dream girl, moment. And the parliamentarians stripped some of the stuff out saying, you can't put Medicare for all, or you can't put a minimum wage in, your budget reconciliation. And the president at the time, Biden, was like, okay, I guess we're moving on. There's more. There's $46.5 billion to Trump's border wall, $5 billion more for CBP, Customs and Border Protection, 10,000 new immigration and customs enforcement officers or ICE officers, $350 billion overall for the national security agenda, $45 billion for 100,000 new migrant detention facility beds, $25 billion for a golden dome, NATO. Did you know that bombing Iran might put us in jeopardy, I guess, and we need our own golden dome? We helped Israel. Now we get ours.
I thought golden dome is when you get a blowjob from Donald Trump.
That's what I thought as well. Or what what Melania does on occasion. One time.
So one time on leap years.
On birthday leap years.
So I mean, yeah, it's sort of hard to it's like, is the story that you want to tell, is it that they're particularly shredding Medicaid and climate protections in order to fund tax cuts for the rich, or shredding Medicaid and climate protections in order to fund a massive expansion of a police state? Again, why not both? But it's it's both of those things, and it's all bad.
And quite literally, I tweeted, this is the closest we've gotten to grinding up the poor and making them rocket fuel, because there's also $10 billion in this for Mars exploration. So you might not be able to physically turn the poor into rocket fuel, but you're stripping them of their health care, their food benefits. You'll kill them in order for us to maybe not definitely ever get to Mars.
Yeah, it's the... one of the things I was thinking about this morning is, that a lot the bad policies that were done under George W. Bush were sort of it was the shock doctrine in the name of responding to 9/11. And it's it was Biden who responded to COVID, really. So it's this is all, they are creating a massive social crisis on many levels through public policy but people are just there was no shock. It's all doctrine and no shock. You know what I mean? And so, and I'm also I looked at Blue Sky today, and one of the trending topics was alligator Alcatraz. This immigrant concentration camp that they're building in the Florida Everglades. So I guess their plan is to deport people, round people up, detain them, send them to be in cages in the Florida Everglades until they die of malaria. Is the plan, I think. For the crime of selling you an horchata on the street. That's right. Of having all for the crime of commuting to work. Or yes, trying to trim the hedge on your water guzzling lawn. The one good thing in this bill is the thing that didn't pass, the worst part, probably one of the worst elements of this, because again, it was just sort of they just bagged the shit out of this, and that is the ban on AI regulation, a 10-year ban
was not included in this bill. So that's huge. And even some Republicans got on board with that. That's good.
I should tell you, by the way, Francesca. So as you mentioned, I'm a union guy. Just in this past week, we ratified a first union contract from Planned Parenthood of Northern California, covering Planned Parenthood health centers across 11 Northern California counties. It's incredible, like life-changing union contract for those workers. And then this bill includes a ban on Medicaid reimbursements. Basically, they're trying to defund Planned Parenthood in the bill nationally. We think we're in a somewhat better position in California because we had a successful effort to fight cuts that were, Governor Newsom tried to put cuts to Planned Parenthood in his budget, and we beat, that was defeated. It was, it's going to be like the workers that I work with at Planned Parenthood are freaked out and are trying to figure out how they're going to provide care for people who are coming to, get their needs met when the Republicans are hell-bent on destroying them.
Well, and on top of that, you've organized healthcare workers as well, and they're going to be massively hit. I think it's something like 500,000 jobs will disappear if all of these cuts go through. 500,000 healthcare jobs, obviously specifically in rural hospitals. There's like chump change being added to, here's $50 million to boost rural hospitals. It's nothing in terms of, what this gutting of Medicaid will do, which often keeps these rural hospitals afloat. It's once again an attack on workers.
Because, the problem of rural access to healthcare is a huge problem. I see it all over the state of California. And, there's big parts of the state where there's either no hospital or the only hospital that exists is a Catholic hospital. So there's no reproductive healthcare there either. If you are...
what if you want to have the baby? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the other thing that, of course, we, every time we have, Liz Winstead on, she always reminds us, and we always should remember that abortion is healthcare, and it is actually part of wanting to be a parent anyway. Reproductive care, abortion care, it's all the same goddamn thing. It's like, no, have this child in a ditch, and if it dies or you die, that's God's will. It's just, again, it's going to go to the House now, and get this, NATO, it can only afford to lose 3 votes from Republicans, which very much they could, be picked off. I think pressure can absolutely work. Will it? I don't know. But it's also important to remember that 3 Democrats have died just in the last 6 months since the 2025 session began. So we lost them, and you don't get to reappoint them. They're not like senators somehow. You just deal with losing those votes. So we're doing real good. Maybe the third way can figure out how to resuscitate Jerry Connolly.
Did he die?
Yes.
That was the one that Pelosi elevated in order to block out AOC.
Yes, he's like, it's my time because it's my dying wish.
Yeah, my deathbed wish is to thwart AOC.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, obviously, everyone, please call your representatives. If you need to make it fun, crank call other people's representatives. That's what I like to do. It puts a little, spring in my step just to do that. Actually, and I like to call not the central offices. So I don't call DC. I call like random ass, statewide offices. That's where you get through to people.
There are a lot of organizations that are running these patch through phone banks, where in California, there are 3 Republican Congress people in districts that Biden won, for example, that have been targeted. And so people are running phone banks into the districts of Congress people like David Valadao to call voters in that district to be like, hey, do you know your congressman trying to vote to cut your Medicaid?
Yeah.
And then it can automatically connect that person to call him from the district on the spot.
That's beautiful.
So if you find out where there are patch through phone banks to save Medicaid, they're done through the unions are doing it, Indivisible's doing it, etc. But if you have a couple hours to pitch in to stop the big beautiful bill, that's the way to do it.
So you phone bank, and then you're connecting voters directly to their reps. while you're on the call. It's like, let me connect you to my manager kind of thing.
Right. And then you get to hear them scream into the voicemail.
I love it.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuationroom. Do it.